Welcome to the Explainer. If you've ever tried to build a real app with a large language model, you know the drill, right? The outputs are all over the place, testing is basically a prayer, and the whole thing just feels like it could break at any moment. Well, today we're diving into Pydantic AI, a brand new framework that's promising to bring some serious order to all that chaos.
And this quote from the team says it all. Listen to that word, painful. They get it. This isn't about just cobbling together a cool demo. No, this is about building something that's actually robust, something you can rely on, something that's ready for the real world.
And honestly, this slide right here is the whole story. On the left, you've got modern web dev. Structured, predictable, testable, all thanks to amazing frameworks like Fast API. And then there's the other side, generative AI development, which has felt just completely chaotic, brittle, unpredictable, a nightmare to maintain. Pydantic AI is all about bridging that gap.
So let's just dig into that Wild West feeling for a second. What is it that makes building production-ready Gen AI apps so incredibly difficult?
And well, the solution comes from a team we all know, the folks behind Pydantic. Yep, the same validation library that pretty much every major AI framework already depends on, they decided to step in and tackle this problem head-on. And their answer is Pydantic AI.
So what do they actually mean by a fast API feeling for AI? What does that feel like? Well, it all comes down to a few core principles that are designed to give developers like you and me a real sense of structure and, maybe most importantly, confidence.
And the why behind it all is pretty compelling. First off, you've got that built-in trust. It's from the Pydantic team, so you know it's solid. It's also totally model agnostic, so you're not locked in. But the real magic, the core promise, is that reliability. It's type-safe from the ground up, it uses standard Python control flow, and it guarantees that your responses are always structured and validated. No more guessing games.
Okay, let's get into the good stuff. Let's pop the hood and really look at the architecture here. Because this isn't just some thin wrapper around an API call. No, this is a seriously well-thought-out framework.
So instead of that tangled, impossible-to-debug spaghetti code we've all written, Pydantic AI uses something called a graph-based state machine. Just think of it like a visual flowchart for your AI's entire conversation. Every single step is a clear, predictable stage. This makes even super complex, back-and-forth interactions totally manageable and, thank goodness, easy to debug.
And here's what that graph actually looks like in practice. It's this beautiful, simple, three-step dance. User prompt comes in, it goes to the model calls a tool. That's it. The biggest takeaway here is that this isn't a black box anymore. It's a clear, repeatable, and most importantly, a completely debuggable process. Now, this next part is a huge deal for anyone who's ever tried to actually test an AI app. The framework borrows a super powerful concept from modern web dev, dependency injection. Think of it this way. Instead of your code being permanently wired to a specific database, you can just provide or inject any database you want. This is an absolute game changer for testing because you can swap in a fake database or a mock API without changing a single line of your agent's logic. And the magic that makes all this happen is the run context class. This is basically the central nervous system for your agent's entire run. It's what gives your tools that secure, type-safe access to everything they could possibly need. The message history, those dependencies we just talked about, all of it.
All right, so a great framework can't just be an island, right? It has to connect to the outside world. So let's take a look at how Pydantic AI interfaces with the two most important parts of any AI ecosystem, the language models themselves and, of course, the user interfaces that people actually see and use. First up, the models. And the great news is it's model agnostic. You can see here the support across all the big players. The really critical features, tool calling and streaming, they're pretty much everywhere. And the best part is you get this single, unified interface. So you can switch from OpenAI to Anthropic to Google without having to tear apart and rewrite your entire application. That's huge.
Okay, now for the front end. For this, it uses something really clever called the AGUI protocol. And this solves a massive headache. Instead of every developer having to invent their own custom way for the agent to talk to the UI, this provides a standard, event-driven language. It's like a universal translator. It means any agent built this way can talk to any UI that speaks the same protocol. And this protocol is really comprehensive. It covers all the basics you'd expect, like starting and stopping and streaming text.
But the parts that are really powerful for developers are things like state management, and especially this thinking process event. This lets you literally peek inside the agent's brain and see its reasoning in real time. It's an incredible tool for debugging and just understanding what's going on.
Okay, so let's pull all this together. We've talked architecture, we've talked protocols, but what does this all actually mean for you, the developer, when you sit down and stare at a blank editor ready to build something? What it means is you finally get to write code that just feels, well, like Python. You can use all the standard best practices you already know. You get incredible observability right out of the box. You can actually trust your outputs to be structured and validated every single time. And you get the confidence of knowing you're using a tool built and backed by a team that the entire Python community already depends on.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. We've seen these mind-blowing advances in the power of AI models themselves. But maybe, just maybe, the next great leap forward isn't going to come from an even bigger model. Maybe it's going to come from better, more reliable tools that finally empower all of us developers to actually harness that incredible power effectively.